In this video, we're going to show you how to install the Epoxy Plus Designer Metallic Epoxy System. Here you see the installers beginning with the application of the epoxy priming system. This is the EPE 300 water-based epoxy primer, and they're doing it in a black tinted base, which really is going to make the metallic pigment stand out. So one installer is squeegeeing the product around the floor at a rate of about 300 square feet per gallon, and then the other installer is working it into the surface of the concrete with an 18-inch 3/8 nap roller. About 3 hours has passed and the epoxy primer is now dry, and so the installation of the Designer Metallic Epoxy System has now begun. The first color being used is orange gold, and you see the installer is just randomly pouring the orange gold Designer Metallic Epoxy on the floor. There's no particular pattern that he's following. It's just randomly pouring ribbons onto the floor, covering this first section that's being installed. We recommend putting down the Designer Metallic Epoxy at a rate of about 60 square feet per gallon. So one 3-gallon kit will cover approximately 180 square feet. Now in this particular installation, two colors are going to be used. The orange gold, which is being put down now, and also another color called coffee. So we've divided this section into 360 square feet because we're going to use two 3-gallon kits of metallic epoxy. One 3-gallon kit of orange gold that's being put down now, and then the second 3-gallon kit of coffee. So those two kits combined will cover a total area of 360 square feet. Now these installers have marked off the room and they know that this first section is approximately 360 square feet, so they're going to keep these first two kits of epoxy within that section. You'll see that now the second color is being poured out again in a random fashion, pouring ribbons on the floor. This is the coffee color. And he's again going to take the coffee metallic epoxy and he's going to pour it within that same 360 square foot section. The other installer is now coming on the scene, and he has with him a flat rubber squeegee as well as a small roller for rolling the edges. Now, we use a flat squeegee because we do not want the epoxy to get on the floor evenly. If you use a notch squeegee, what it's going to do is it's going to evenly disperse the metallic epoxy on the floor. And we're not really looking for that. We're looking for a more organic, random pattern from the metallic epoxy. So we want different ratios of color to be dispersed on the floor, meaning that in some areas you'll have a little bit more brown, in some areas you'll have a little bit more gold, and once we roll these together, that's really going to help to enhance the look of this floor by giving a real random look to the concrete floor. So you see the installer, he's just randomly taking the squeegee, he's not putting any pressure on it, and he's just randomly moving product around the surface of the floor. You're not looking for 100% coverage at this time. You see how quickly he's moving, and you're looking to cover 85 to 90% of the floor. You'll actually see that there's some bare spots. There's some spots that he's missed with the epoxy, and that's okay, because once you start rolling the floor, it's going to fill in all these little voids that's missed by the squeegee. So the squeegee process is quite quick. He's just moving the epoxy side to side on the floor, making sure that he has material everywhere within this 360 square foot section. So the other installer is now beginning to roll the epoxy. He's using a small roller and he's pushing it into the edges, making sure that material gets up along the edges. This is a little what we call a weenie roller. It can be purchased at any store, hardware store that sells paint supplies. And he's quickly just moving material with the roller, pushing it up against the edge of the wall, making sure that there's full coverage of metallic epoxy up against the wall. The other installer is continuing to use the squeegee. He's moving material around the floor, and again, it's quite a quick process. This whole section of 360 square feet Took these two installers less than 10 minutes to do, from the time they started pouring the floor to the time they finished rolling. This particular epoxy is specially formulated, which gives you, the installer, an advantage. You have considerable working time with this product. Now, we recommend that you get the temperature of the room that you're installing down in the 70 to 72 degree range if possible. The cooler the temperature, the longer the working time you'll have, which will be upwards of 45 minutes, which is a real advantage to installing the floor. It means that you can take your time. You don't have to stress about the epoxy beginning to set up on you. You'll have a lot of time to work within this first section of material. You'll have plenty of time to pour it, squeegee it, and back roll it before you move on to the next section. So again, the rolling is continuing, the squeegeeing is continuing, and they're just going to work within this first 360 square foot section, making sure that all the material has been squeegeed and back rolled. The next step would be to use an 18-inch roller. We recommend 18-inch rollers because it helps to roll out the epoxy much more evenly than a 9-inch roller, and it's also really fast. You'll see the installer, he's rolling it, not putting any pressure at all on the roller. He's moving side to side quickly, and this is now starting to even out the floor. It's putting epoxy in any voids that was missed by the squeegee, and at this point the design of the floor is really starting to develop. The roller is really starting to help move the material around. It's helping to separate the pigments within the epoxy, and you're going to start seeing the true metallic marbleized effect of the floor. We recommend a 3/8 nap roller, a shed-free or shed-resistant roller. 18-inch is the best to use for a floor like this. And so again, he's rolling out quite quickly, side to side, and he'll roll one side to the other, and then we recommend switching direction. He's able to walk on the floor because he's wearing some cleats. These are simple cleats that can be found at your local department store, such as Walmart, Target, or any sporting goods store. They're used for baseball or soccer. They have plastic cleats on the bottom, and this will allow you to walk in the floor and just leave small imprints that you'll be able to easily roll back out. Now, a word of caution, these floors can be slippery when you're installing the metallic system on top of the primer, so just take your time. There's no need to rush. You have plenty of working time. Take small steps and maintain your balance, and you'll be able to roll out the floor no problem. Now we're going to go back to the first part of the floor that we started on. It's been 9 or 10 minutes since it's been rolled out, and you can see that all the roller marks have disappeared and the floor is really starting to take shape. This area here has not had its final roll, so you just notice all the roller marks and different things on the floor. So we'll go ahead and give it one final roll, and then you'll see also in about 8 to 10 minutes all the roller marks will disappear and the floor will really start taking shape. So our first 360 square foot section is now complete. We've installed our designer metallic epoxy. We've poured it in ribbons, we squeegeed it, and we back rolled it 3 times. And now we'll let it just sit, and the pigments will continue to move and separate within the epoxy. And it's going to continue to transform and turn itself into a beautiful designer metallic epoxy floor. So we're going to continue with the same steps in the next 360 square foot section. Here we're pouring out our first color, again in ribbons. We'll do it again with the second color. We'll take our flat squeegee, we'll blend the colors together. We'll use a small roller to push material into the edges against the wall. And then we'll use our 18-inch roller to move the epoxy around further to even it out and to start that transformation into a gorgeous designer metallic epoxy floor. Now, before this installation began, the installers took the time to pre-mix the metallic pigments into the epoxy. The pigments can be mixed into either the A or the B component. They're pre-mixed for 10 to 15 minutes into each 3-gallon kit. And this is before combining the A and the B parts together. The metallic pigment is only mixed in either the A or the B, not both together. Once you combine the A and the B, the curing process begins, and the material will set up in the buckets before you have time to even pour it on the floor. So we just pre-mix the pigments, in this case into the A part of the resin, and they're outside there waiting to be mixed, and we mix them just as we need them, combining the A and the B together, just one kit at a time. So now here you have the finished floor, about 800 square feet of designer metallic epoxy installed in about 45 minutes. For more information or to purchase product, visit us at www.epoxyplus.com.